This is the Week 6 recap with Sierra Kilo and Complacent Badger. How you doing, man?
Greetings. I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. So this week was not hugely different.
Right. I think most of what we expected was what we saw.
Yeah. I think the only time that I actually saw kind of player growth or anything was actually with Exactly As Planned in the Coach Hustler one. Really used a lot of advantages of between fouling, picking up a bribe for inducements to just keep a bloodthirster down. 6 fouls, never got a player ejected. Keeping that blood.
Yeah, that was impressive. I mean, we didn't really even realize that he had picked up a bribe, so we were very curious why he was throwing these fouls like crazy. And then one of his players got ejected. He used the bribe to save it. And then, well, again, to our surprise, kept fouling. But he did a great job of, it was what, turn 1 or turn 2 that he knocked that bloodthirster down, Action Jackson's bloodthirster, and just kept him stunned for the first half almost of that match.
Yeah, and in that regard, that was a really good move. But at the same time, still playing the same game of just hitting, which, when you have a team that's just slightly better at it than the others, then that's not a bad strategy, and was able to pick up the win. So that's pretty good.
Yep.
Everybody else. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, as we watched it, we realized. I mean, there wasn't a lot of ball movement, and there wasn't a lot of attempt to make ball movement. There really just was. Everybody threw as many blocks as they could, and by the end of the game, there were, I mean, very, very, very few players on the field.
14 players actually had something done to them, be it stuns,
right.
KOs, or actual removed from the pitch.
Which is really high. Not necessarily considering the punching power of the teams, but when you look at the armor value of the teams.
Yeah. No runaway victories. I think the worst one was yours with 2-0. It's against.
And both my scores were very, very late in the half.
Yeah.
So each half.
And I think that game with the Snarl 2 smashes in the Nordic Kneecappers came down to just a couple bad choices. Not really bad, just not most effective choices, and then the lack of risk management.
Yep, I mean, and I guess we'd say taking the risk at the appropriate time. So, kind of not doing anything crazy, but playing the odds when I had the opportunity got me both of those touchdowns in the end.
Yep, and then Masrak just failed to see situations where, okay, maybe this 50-50 shot is worth it because I have nothing but gains. Right.
And again, we see that in a lot of these players is they're choosing to throw blocks instead of maybe disengage and move into a position that would be more advantageous than knocking a player down.
It just seems weird seeing a lot of effort to get a one-die block instead of just doing something like dodging away or just throwing a ball.
Right.
And I think it just comes with comfortability of knowing that when you have 2 dice, you know all the results of the dice. You know, just block dice are very easy to see how it works, whereas in everything on the inside of the game, you can tell people who don't read the rules enough and they just don't understand that, all right, I don't know what the negative modifiers are here, so I'm just going to do a block because that's what I understand.
Right. Instead of, yeah, if we could have just do everything in pictures, it'd
exactly.
People would get it a little bit more. They're just numbers, nothing to be scared of.
Iron Beer Billies and the Sunday Speedwalkers, that was a game where I really think that the Sunday Speedwalkers should have had the advantage, but started playing a blocking game.
Yes, that's 100% true, and we are posting that video, so you can kind of see what we're talking about, and as we talk about it, what specifically we mean by her, instead of staying off the opponent, really allowing those blocks to happen and trying to mark players, but really instead of marking players, you're really just giving a free block and then the movement instead of forcing the dwarves to do a lot of dodges, which they're not nearly as good at.
Yeah, and then poor utilization of coverage and tackle zones. A lot of hand holding throughout. I think her husband actually told her the players need to hold hands and be together, but I think she took that too literally in keeping things adjacent. And I've told her multiple times, this is probably about the third or fourth week that I've kind of told her, you gotta use those tackle zones, you have to use those, keep them spread so that they have more coverage. And she still really hasn't caught on to it yet, and I think that's a huge reason why she's being outmaneuvered despite her minimum movement allowance of 7.
Right. And Flying Coconuts played a really good game, though. You look at how he moved the ball, made positions, didn't make a lot of bad decisions, and he was able to get 2, and Ducky Shoes was able to get 2. So you come down to 2 very different teams achieving the same result against each other, even though I do think that Ducky Shoes had the opportunity in there to either... There was one time where I think that the score could have changed and she could have had a victory, but ended up just allowing too many of her players to be knocked down to the ground.
Yep. Iron Beer Bellies played a perfect dwarf game. Didn't have a lot of chances to make bad decisions. Every once in a while, throwing a dwarf at a tree that was rooted, kind of a dumb play, but didn't really kill.
Yeah, I think that stun.
Mm-hmm. For exactly his plan and the Crazy Eights, that was just a brutal game.
Right.
We talked about it earlier. 14 players got some sort of injury result. It's just heinous. A lot of fouling from exactly his plan. 6 fouls against the Bloodthirster.
Yeah, I mean, what a great way to use that, but shocking at the same time. But it was definitely a fun one to watch as just a watch 2 teams smash each other, but not exactly what we'd like to see from a technical aspect of being able to use the teams as effectively as possible. But exactly his plan did it to a 1-0 victory, so congratulations to him.
Yep.
Action Jackson had his Bloodthirster for the first time, and I'd like to hear what he thinks about that now, because he definitely went Wild Animal maybe 3 times.
Yeah,
and
way more than 3 times. He probably Wild Animal at least 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. It was tough to watch that because he was looking forward to that player for so long, saving up money, and then to have it almost be an anchor on the team.
And that was one of the things that we always argue for people who are taking these the big ones or debating on whether or not to take the big guys, is that those players, they add a lot of strength and a lot of power and are a huge pivoting point on the pitch, but at the same time, they can really screw up your plans with that action roll at the very beginning, and that was just a perfect example.
And he burned through all of his blitzes trying to unwild animal that guy.
And take it from me, I mean, my troll's really stupid. They have the same thing going for them, and it's hard pressed that one of them doesn't go stupid a turn.
Right. And even when you mitigate that by putting your player, a not really stupid player on him.
Yeah, and it just
takes players off from the rest of your abilities.
Well, and the difference is Wild Animal, you actually keep your tackle zones, whereas really stupid you don't. You can make plays to mitigate the damage that happens from that. His rolls, Crazy Eights, I saw a lot of complaint about the rolls on the forum posts. The rolls probably weren't the best that he could have had, but we specifically saw situations where 1-die tackles, bad movements with frenzy, going for it when they were unnecessary, maybe I think there was a ball pickup that wasn't very advantageous. There was a lot of situations where he rolled extra dice and failed them.
Right, and that's the thing I mean, he's only got 3 rerolls and burned through them so fast in both halves, and just you can't really think of that as a success. When you burn a die, when you burn one of your rerolls, you really have to say, well, was what I did the best way to do it, or was there a better way to do it, or why did I have to burn a reroll? Because, I mean, when you're only playing with 3 rerolls per half, it makes a big difference.
It comes down to the risk management. We harp on it. Do the moves that are the ones that are most advantageous for victory. Even if they're a little bit risky, if you can get progression in it, obviously cover your bases as well. Do things that if it does fail, you're not so hurt from it. But do your free movements, stuff that doesn't take rolls, that's going to help you get field position. Then start doing stuff that will make rolls but are advantageous towards you. Your first move is rarely throw a block on the line. That is,
right.
Honestly, that's not going to change much. And I see a lot of players just throwing blocks on the line and then going, oh, I had to use a reroll because I rolled 2 both downs. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, and then when you wanted to go pick up the ball, you didn't have a reroll available because you did it against a guy who's just going to stand right back up and hit you.
Yep, and I mean that was, yeah, overall, and that part of the reason why there were so many injuries were I mean, it seemed like everybody had horns on that team, or claw, or mighty blow, or something.
Yeah.
And just armor pens, armor pen. I mean, just almost 2 a turn.
And relatively low armor values on both teams. You know, both teams had a lot of the 8. So, I mean, all it takes is a 9 if you look at the claw. All you need is an 8 to pen. So, I mean, it happened. I mean, the rock throws, there was 3 guys that were hit by rocks that game as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was pretty fun, too. Just blood all over the field.
Yep. For the Umbrella Corporation and Pitch Doctors, that game, that was just a fun game.
Yeah, I did enjoy watching that.
It was a long game, about an hour and a half long, but that just comes down to it was because there was just so much happening. Rolls weren't really destroying anybody, so turns weren't ending very quickly, and players were staying on the pitch. You had a lot of choices going on. Nobody went to the wire on 4 minutes on every turn, but if people are ending turns, it just happens to be a long game. But it's definitely worth a watch. It was an exciting game.
And things that I noticed specifically was that there was quite a bit of armor penetration, but a lot of stuns instead of anything. I mean, your ogres were
Trolls.
Not trolls. Sorry, I keep saying ogres. I mean trolls. But they were doing a lot of hitting, and they were done effectively, but just couldn't get anybody off the field. And it seemed like he was doing the same thing, where he was knocking the crap out of your guys, but not getting anybody off the field. There just wasn't a lot of high injury rolls, so that made it take a lot longer. Because normally your turns toward the end go into the 2 players that you have on the field doing their turn, but when you end up having a lot of players on the field at the end, it definitely keeps that game time longer. And it was a fun game to watch because you didn't really see that level of utter desperation or frustration when all of your guys are off the field.
Yep. All right, so let's look at the teams where they're at right now. Pitch Doctors, we have 16 players. One of them is going to be missing next game due to a smashed ankle, losing that movement allowance. Not too terrible. Needs somebody on the line once the Fanatic's gone anyways.
Right.
After week 6 against Master Moose, actually it was after week 5, picked up 2 agility 1 goblins, or sorry, +1 agility goblins, so agility 4 goblins, which arguably helped in the game. Didn't win, but
oh yeah. Well, there were a couple thrown goblins in there that landed. I mean, one took a reroll, the other one landed naturally, and that was, I mean, really fun to see.
Yep. And then Orderly Dum Dum picking up Strong Arm.
Cool. Good stuff.
Alright, so next.
That Strong Arm's a fun thing, especially when you have those high agility goblins to land a throw.
Yeah, and it was one of those things as I was debating all the strength abilities. He's already got Mighty Blow, so you know that's usually the first choice. And if only strength's available to you, I was gonna pick up Guard, but then that's just adding to goblins. You know what I mean? Like if you add strength to the other troll, it's like great. Now he's strength 6. You're not really gonna do much with that.
Yeah. And then a strength 3, you're gonna, instead of going a -2 or a 2-die block, opponent chooses, you're going to a 1-die.
Yeah, and
in favor, and that's something that you want to be doing regularly enough to take that as an ability.
And honestly, if you have a troll close enough to give the guard bonus, you probably should be trying to hit with the troll anyways.
Agreed.
Instead of a goblin. So, and that's why I picked up Strong Arm, just because there was no other strength abilities that were very useful.
Right. Well, and I guess the last thing to say about that is you want something that's going to be useful. Either that Strong Arm's going to be good, or I mean, as many times as you that guard's not going to be any good if you lose your tackle zones anyways due to
Stupid.
Really stupid.
Yeah, and that was kind of, I wanted something that was going to be useful more often.
Right.
All right, so exactly as planned, looking at him, he's got a level 3 player now. That claw got Mighty Blow. Wow. How horrifying is this Beastman?
That's terrible.
He's basically got odds to pen you every time, no matter what you are.
Yeah. That is a #1 pain assassin. Take that guy out before the game.
Yeah, that's the guy who's going to be catching my bombs.
Yeah.
And he picked up, this was a very interesting one that I didn't really get the point of it. He picked up Wrestle, which is an amazing ability, especially in this league where block is starting to be very prevalent. Wrestle is an amazing ability, but I don't know if it was amazing on a character with horns.
Well, here's the thought on it, is if he's going to go up against a guy with block, and then it's going to wrestle him down. And then he still has the ability to use that character from the ground in a blitz action
On the next turn.
On the next turn.
That's what I'm saying. The wrestle is very good. Really, the purpose of wrestle is to undo block on a character that it's kind of one of those things that if you have a lot of movement allowance, you can go hit the guy. If he has block and you use wrestle, both of you drop, he drops the ball, and neither one of you take an armor pen. So it's very useful against players that have block and sure hands, because strip ball won't work against them.
Right.
I really think that either block or strip ball would have been a better choice for wrestle. We'll have to see if he utilizes wrestle properly.
Right. He's the second player to get wrestle.
I think it's the first. I don't think anybody else has it.
I think I saw somebody today who had it, and
we'll check because we're going to go through. But
this is exactly his plan, so that might be him.
Yeah, but I'm number 6 on exactly his plan. Kryganor Gore. I'm gonna have to watch that and see if he does well with it.
I'd like to see him do something with that, because those are there's no reason to take an ability unless you plan on using it.
Yes.
I mean, there are a couple times when you're like, well, I don't know what else to take, and this is all that's available to me. But wrestle isn't on my, generally on my list of things to.
No, it's
jam up.
Not me either. But I've had a change in ideas about it as well. For the Iron Beer Bellies, picking up guard on his blocker, it's a wonderful choice. Mighty Blow for that blocker. I don't know how many of these are new. I know this one's not new. He's been 3 for a while.
Yep,
hasn't picked up a first ability with this runner yet, so we'll have to see what he does with that one. According to what he did previously, it's probably going to be block if he doesn't get an agility bonus.
Yep, that makes sense.
And then guard for this blocker. This is where this team's going to start getting really scary with he starts generating these guards.
Right. Just start to ignore they're going to be able to add to a tackle every time, whether or not they're in a tackle zone or not.
Yep, which makes them at least strength 4 in a tussle, whereas it could be starting to be 5, even 6.
Even on the line.
Yeah. So it's a very scary team starting to develop. For your kneecappers. Dauntless and guard for this lineman. The combination of Dauntless and guard is kind of you're kind of splitting 2 directions, but it can be useful together.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, it's one of those things where I'm going to try to keep him on the line, use guard first, have somebody tackle, which is going to give, free up a tackle zone for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting kind of a double. And then that Dauntless, he's going to be my, tree man hunter or
so he's basically your big dude.
Yeah, he's my center line.
Yeah, which is pretty good. I mean, that's a good plan. I really see it working, as long as he doesn't get hit.
26 player points.
Yeah, that's really big.
He's earned MVP, I think, four of the 4 games.
Wow.
Which is where he's gotten us from. He hasn't really done it. Here, go to the maybe if you go to career stats or season stats, will that go by player?
And what number was that? Number of MVPs, 4 MVPs.
Yeah, 4 MVPs. Which is silly.
Yes. I think it could work. You just got to make sure that you keep him, like, if you're not receiving, keep him off the line.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Kick, we've seen that. Strip ball, very, very good choice. I like that ability. Just be careful, because Sure Hands ignores it.
Right. Trying to spread the love around.
Yep, and then tackle on both these guys. So, pretty straightforward team. The only thing that's kind of a little hoopty is probably the Dauntless Guard, but I think it'll work for you.
Yeah. I've got to be careful with it and make it work for me. But so that's my second guy with Dauntless.
Apparently, he just gets a thrall named Hunk. For the Umbrella Corporation, he's got 14 players, 1 player that's going to be missing the next game due to some injury. He's got a level 4 Vampire now. He's our first level 4 in the league. I'm picking up Pro, which is... Pro is a very delicate ability because you have to use it at the right times. For a character that has an action ability such as Bloodlust, Really Stupid, Wild Animal, stuff like that, Pro is very useful at undoing that problem, but you have to be very careful that you don't use Pro on something that's going to be important, like a die roll, or like a block roll, or a dodge, because that Pro only goes off on a 4+.
Right.
So you might be using a reroll, because here's the thing, is some people don't think about it. They use Pro on a, like, let's say a 3+ dodge roll, and then it fails on the 4+ Pro, so now you're using a team reroll to undo a 4+ instead of the 3+ that you could have failed, that you haven't even, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So
it's
it's
starting to create this huge waterfall effect.
Yeah, we're not only are you using Pro and failing it, but you could have used it to your team reroll to reroll a 3+ instead of a 4+.
Yeah.
It's a very good ability.
Yep, Umbrella Corps is the team that I'd pin as the guys who are going to use it most effectively.
Yes.
I mean, he's very technical. He understands all the intricacies of it. So we'll watch and see when he uses it and make sure that it's in line with our thinking.
Yep.
Because if it's not, we'll have to change our thinking because he's probably doing it better.
Yeah. With that Pro, he's also got the Blodge that he had previously as Blodge here, and then for this one, +1 agility in that pass block. We talked about it earlier this morning before we started recording, talking about Hypnotic Gaze. This character is going to be really good at Hypnotic Gaze.
Yeah, +1 in agility because he's throwing an agility roll to make that happen.
Yep, I haven't seen him use Hypnotic Gaze yet. I think it's just because the low amount of vampires that he has, but he's done a lot of movement and then not done anything other than the movement. So maybe if he starts utilizing, because the Hypnotic Gaze is just an action. If you're not using an action, you might as well use it.
Right.
Kick on his Thrall. Good. I think that's a good choice.
Yep.
And that's it. Everything 5 to 14 is still level 1.
Yeah. Just turned into a couple games, week 4 and week 5, where he made all of his stuff with the same players over and over again. So.
Yep. Just feeding those players.
But you know, really, the thralls aren't something that you want. You're real excited when they level because you know you're just gonna have to feed on them eventually.
Okay, so ignore what you see in this roster right now for the most part because I don't think he's had any level ups or anything. So we're actually going to talk about this team in the next recap because it's way more impressive next time. You guys got a sneak peek of what happened in week 7. Snarl 2 smashes. Got that Mighty Blow tackle.
Good stuff.
Got that blitzer with dodge. He had some odd choices for this one because he rolled 2 5s. So not only did he have the option of an armor value, he had the option of a movement allowance, and then he also had the option of any skill he wanted.
Right.
And so he was going back and forth. He said the movement allowance would be nice, getting that armor value back would be nice, and then I was kind of like, did you roll doubles? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, you also have every ability available to you. He's like, well, fuck that. I'm taking dodge.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what I would have gone with as well. Dodge and block simultaneously on a blitzer makes him very scary. And I think, honestly, one, armor value 8's not terrible. It's a very doable armor value. Secondly, I think the dodge protects him more as well. So it's almost better than an armor value.
Yeah, I see that. But being able to get, I mean, maybe +1 stat, you know, how much is that going to help? But I think dodge over the long run, because you're looking at, you know, 7-star player points, just a level 2 player, where it's the next ability is going to come quick enough, and I think that dodge is going to make him less prone to damage.
Yeah, if he picks up Sure Hands, that Blitzer is going to be horrifying. Because at that point, unless the opponent has tackle, you only have one result that can put this character down. So unless you have tackle or wrestle, you know, some kind of ability, you can't put this player down, and then you can't strip ball if he's got Sure Hands.
Right.
So this is a horrifying runner to stop, especially if you cage him. Not only do you need to break open the cage, but then you have to put down the player.
Right, which isn't very likely at all.
No.
The best you're going to do is try to push him out.
Or, you know, and then you get maybe lucky with that defender down.
Yeah.
Picked up Accurate with Morgfang. Good choice. Matches pass perfectly.
Yep, it's a good pairing.
Moglop's got Sure Hands and Mighty Blow. I talked to him about this one, and I said that I think you kind of, and he regrets it now, he split his character with a combination of Sure Hands and Mighty Blow.
A carrier and a hitter.
Yeah. If you're going to make a blitzer, make him a carrier or make him a hitter. He could have picked something else instead of Sure Hands that would have been a little bit more useful. But, you know, having a guy who can do utility, can do both, not the worst thing ever.
Right.
Block on a lineman, and that'd be it.
Way to go. Yep. Black Orc ready to pop with 5-star player points.
Yep. Most likely from MVP. And then that Ducky Shoes. +1 agility on that thrower, so that makes it scary. Agility 5 thrower with leader and pass.
Somebody's going to get kicked in the teeth.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'd be going after too. It's hard to get those throwers sometimes if you don't put them in bad situations. Movement allowance still with that catcher. You've got shadowing on the lineman, dodge on that lineman, and dodge on that lineman. So these dodge ones are going to be pretty useful. The shadowing, once again, we talked about that early on. I just don't know if that's going to be very useful.
Yeah. I'm with that.
I think, other than some special instances that happen, I think it might be the only coach that still has only 11 players.
Yeah, with the first 11 players.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
She does have a negative strength modifier on one of her players.
That's true as well. So for next week, we've got Nordic Kneecappers against the Sunday Speedwalkers.
Looking forward to that game. That'll be a lot of fun.
I think that the Speedwalkers could outplay you, but I think with the difference in experience, I think you've got this one.
Yeah, I would like to think so. And being able to play effectively and make her play my game, and try to give her as many roles as possible.
Yep.
When she's trying to make movements, is going to be the thing that matters. Hopefully, try to keep her from getting too many real clean throws would be my best bet.
Yep, that's exactly it.
And of course, putting every player that she has on the ground.
Yep. And she just needs to take advantage of her agility. I mean, she's got agility 4, 1 with agility 5. She's got to stay away, keep widespread to keep those tackle zones really spread out, so it prevents you from getting a lot of movement done, and then just get ready for the pass. Get set up.
Right.
Crazy 8s and the Snarl 2 smashes. It's going to be a brutal game.
Oh, again, another brutal game. Just brutal, where you're just smashing everybody.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, that's going to be a coin flip again, because I think that the experience and the players, I'd like to see what Crazy 8s get to do when he can use that big guy they picked up.
Yep, I agree, and it's going to be interesting to watch. Pitch Doctors versus the Iron Beer Bellies.
I feel like I'm rooting for you mostly because what 3 weeks ago I started rooting for you in this game.
Yeah. I'm hoping I win this one too, just because one, I need a win, and I think this is a team that I can take advantage of. I have a little bit of a movement allowance bonus against them. I'm gonna have tough trying to pen their armor, but of all people, I think I'm the best one to do it.
Right, having 2 guys with the Mighty Blow.
On top of the Mighty Blow, but having
plus the
chainsaw, all kinds of stuff.
Going to ignore, so you're automatically penning armor, right?
No, with the chainsaw, it's just a +3.
Oh, it's a +3, which is effectively automatically penning armor.
Against him, though, he's armor value 9, so I need a 10. So as long as I roll odds, if I roll 7, it penetrates.
Right. So I mean, we'd expect that to hit.
Most likely.
Right. So plus the bomb, and then your who's your third guy? Ball and chain.
No, Fanatic, strength 7. He doesn't have really anything special other than strength 7.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to come down to his ability to kind of react to what the goblins are doing, and then it's going to come down to me to, one, land the important hits, and a couple new strategies that I've kind of developed that I'm excited to use.
Well, I'm excited to watch that game. I think that your ability to move the ball is going to be the difference in that game. Trying to play your style of defense, make him make dodge rolls, and trying to keep your guys on the field, especially after your first turn. Because if you get the ball, I think that there's nothing stopping you from getting a first drive touchdown, and trying to keep him from that first drive touchdown makes all the difference. So I'd like to see, what did I call it, 2-to-1 win?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I still think that is extremely viable, and I'm really excited to watch this game next week.
Cool. Last one is Umbrella Corporation versus Exactly as Planned. I want to give it up to the Umbrella Corporation, mostly because just skill difference, and from what we've seen as newer players, Exactly as Planned still relatively new, probably the newest of all the players here. I don't think there's an understanding of Bloodlust. It just seems like despite the vampires being in this for 7 weeks, people still haven't figured out Bloodlust.
Yep. But here's the other thing to look at with that is saying what the ability of Exactly as Planned to do damage to the thralls. If he can get rid of the thralls fast enough, let that Bloodlust trigger, and keep a superior number of players on the field, as long as he's moving effectively, he's got a chance.
I agree. I don't think he's 100% out, but I just give the favor to Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the same way. I'm gonna go 60-40 in the other direction. I think that Exactly as Planned's can win if he plays a good game, and he just needs to remember to make movements that are free, take actions that are advantageous, and then do things that are a little riskier. So, 2-die blocks are a pretty good thing, but a free movement. So, be moving the ball, be playing the ball, and then play the players.
Yep, it's very good advice that hopefully he holds in the rest of his games, and hopefully everybody listens to it.
Yep.
All right, I think
in BTBT, so I really want to see him take a couple more victories, so that makes me feel better about that loss.
Yeah. I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to do?
No, we talked about all the touchdowns scored versus allowed last recap, and it really hasn't changed too much. So,
yep.
2 lead scorers in the league are myself and Umbrella Corporation, and I'm still leading the allowed with I've only allowed 2 touchdowns in 6 games. So,
cool.
That's pretty much the highlights of everything. But other than that, it's pretty even.
All right. Well, I think that's it. And like, subscribe, all that good jazz, and we'll see you on the next week.
Later.
Later.